In this episode, we're going to bring together everything you have been building and focus it into one central capability, leading with strategic clarity. Strategic clarity is not a fancy slogan, and it is not about sounding confident while being vague. It is the ability to state what matters, why it matters, what you are going to do about it, and what you are not going to do right now, in a way that other people can understand and support. When you lead with clarity, you reduce confusion, you reduce argument, and you create momentum because people stop guessing what the plan is. This matters in security because ambiguity creates risk, and ambiguity also creates wasted effort, with different teams pulling in different directions. As a beginner, you might think leadership is a later-stage skill reserved for people with titles, but strategic clarity is a thinking skill you can practice immediately. It shows up in how you explain priorities, how you connect security work to business outcomes, and how you make it easy for people to align their actions with your intent. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Strategic clarity begins with a strong answer to a simple question. What is the goal we are trying to achieve? In the GSTRT mindset, goals are business outcomes, such as maintaining reliable service, protecting customer trust, meeting obligations, and enabling growth without unacceptable risk. When leaders fail to clarify the goal, teams fill in the blanks with their own priorities, and security becomes fragmented. Clarity means you can name the objective in plain language and connect it to value drivers like revenue, reliability, and trust. It also means you can explain what success looks like in a way that is observable, such as fewer disruptive incidents, faster recovery, reduced fraud, or cleaner audit outcomes. A key beginner habit is practicing goal statements that are specific enough to guide action without becoming technical instructions. When you can state the goal clearly, you have given people a shared destination. Shared destinations are the foundation of rallying people and resources because people commit more easily when they understand where the organization is headed and why. From the goal, strategic clarity moves to prioritization because a clear goal without a clear priority set still leaves people guessing. Prioritization is where you decide what comes first based on business impact, likelihood drivers, and the organization's constraints. A leader who leads with clarity does not pretend everything is equally important, because that is not realistic and it makes teams feel like they can never win. Instead, clarity means you identify the handful of risks and outcomes that matter most and explain why they are at the top. This explanation uses evidence, such as critical business processes, obligations, exposure, and past incidents, rather than fear. When the reasoning is evidence-based, people may still disagree, but the disagreement becomes productive because it is about assumptions and facts, not about personality or politics. This is how clarity becomes a rallying force. It turns debate into alignment around a consistent logic. Resources follow defensible priorities because defensible priorities can be funded. Strategic clarity also includes defining scope because scope is what keeps a strategy from collapsing under its own weight. Beginners sometimes think a strong strategy must cover everything at once, but a strategy that tries to do everything usually does nothing well. Scope clarity means you define what is in focus for the current period and what will be handled through baseline guardrails or later phases. This is not avoidance, it is sequencing. When you say we are prioritizing identity risk and critical workflows this quarter, you are also implicitly saying that other improvements will not be the top focus right now, even if they are still important. Teams can handle trade-offs when trade-offs are explicit, but they struggle when trade-offs are hidden. Scope clarity also reduces the churn of constant reprioritization because people know what to expect. When people know what to expect, they can plan their work, which makes execution faster. In exam-style thinking, clarity is often the difference between an answer that sounds good and an answer that actually works, because workable strategies respect limited capacity. A major component of rallying people is stakeholder alignment, and strategic clarity makes stakeholder alignment easier because it tells stakeholders how the plan serves their concerns. Stakeholders care about different things like speed, cost, usability, compliance, and reliability, and clarity means you can acknowledge those concerns while still holding to the core priorities. If you ignore stakeholder incentives, your plan may be technically sound but politically fragile, and fragile plans do not get resources. Clarity in stakeholder alignment includes naming decision owners, clarifying who has authority and who has influence, and defining what commitments are required from each group. It also includes translating security priorities into business impact, so executives can understand why investment is justified. When people understand the impact, they are more willing to allocate time and money because they can see what is being protected. Strategic clarity therefore acts like a shared language, allowing different groups to coordinate without needing to become experts in each other's domains. Coordination is what creates momentum, and momentum is what turns strategy into real change. Another way clarity rallies people is by turning high-level intent into practical guardrails that teams can actually follow. If you tell teams we must improve security, that is not actionable. If you tell teams here are the boundaries for sensitive data handling, here is what requires escalation, and here are the patterns we expect you to use, then people can execute without constant negotiation. Guardrails reduce friction because they make the safe path predictable, and predictability is what teams need to move quickly. Clarity also includes exception handling, because real organizations always face special cases and urgent deadlines. A clear strategy includes a clear exception path that requires justification and approval rather than encouraging silent workarounds. When exceptions are managed intentionally, the organization can move fast without losing control of risk. This also builds trust because teams see that security is not arbitrary, and security sees that business needs are respected. Trust is a resource multiplier because high-trust environments make alignment faster and reduce the cost of coordination. Strategic clarity depends on communication style, and the best strategic communication is simple, calm, and structured. Simple does not mean shallow. It means you use plain language and avoid unnecessary jargon. Calm matters because fear-based messages can create urgency, but often undermine credibility and lead to fatigue. Structured matters because people remember structured messages more easily, and memory supports execution. A clear message usually includes the objective, the reason it matters, the key risks, the chosen priorities, and the next actions. It also includes what success will look like and how progress will be measured. This measurement element is important because people commit more readily when they can see how the plan will be judged. If the plan has no measurement, it can feel like busy work. When the plan has a clear way to show improvement, it feels purposeful. In an exam context, answers that emphasize clear framing, measurable outcomes, and business-aligned reasoning usually signal the strategic approach. Clarity also shows up in how you handle uncertainty, because security decisions often involve incomplete information. A leader who pretends certainty may sound confident, but they can lose trust when reality changes. A leader who is honest about uncertainty can still be decisive because they can state what is known, what is unknown, and what actions will reduce uncertainty while still protecting critical outcomes. For example, if visibility is weak in a critical area, a clear strategy might prioritize improving monitoring and access review because those steps reduce both risk and uncertainty. This shows that the plan is grounded in reality and that it is designed to improve the organization's ability to make better decisions over time. Handling uncertainty well also prevents paralysis, because teams do not need perfect information to make progress on foundational guardrails. Strategic clarity, therefore, includes the ability to act responsibly under uncertainty, which is a core leadership trait. It is also a core exam theme, because strategic questions often test whether you can choose a defensible action when not everything is fully known. Rallying resources effectively requires clarity about what resources are needed and what trade-offs those resources imply. Resources include money, time, staffing, attention, and leadership support, and strategic clarity means you can describe resource needs in terms of what they enable. For example, funding for resilience improvements enables reduced downtime risk, while staffing for governance work enables consistent policy execution. Time from technical teams enables implementation, and time from leaders enables decisions and prioritization. A clear leader does not simply demand resources. They build a business case that connects investment to reduced harm and protected outcomes. They also recognize opportunity cost, meaning that resources spent here are not spent elsewhere, so the investment must be justified. When you can describe resource needs and trade-offs plainly, you make it easier for decision-makers to say yes because they understand what they are agreeing to. This is also how you prevent disappointment, because people are less likely to expect miracles when you have been clear about what the plan requires to succeed. In strategic security, clarity about resources is a form of respect for reality, and reality is where strategies either succeed or fail. Another important aspect of leading with clarity is pacing, because even the best strategy can fail if it moves too fast or too slow for the organization. Moving too fast can create resistance, overwhelm teams, and lead to incomplete adoption. Moving too slow can leave critical risks exposed and erode confidence in the security program. Clarity helps pacing because it defines phases and sequences, such as quick wins that build momentum and longer-term foundations that create sustainability. Quick wins are actions that produce visible improvement without major disruption, and they are valuable because they build trust and demonstrate competence. Foundations are actions that create long-term consistency, such as clear guardrails, ownership, and repeatable processes. A clear leader uses both, because people need to see progress while the deeper work is being built. This balanced pacing also supports morale, because teams feel like their effort leads somewhere. In exam thinking, strategies that blend immediate risk reduction with sustainable improvement often represent the most mature choice. Strategic clarity also includes the ability to say no in a way that keeps people aligned rather than alienated. Saying no is sometimes necessary when a request would create unacceptable risk, but a clear leader does not simply block work. They explain the risk in business terms, propose alternative paths, and define what would need to change for a yes to be possible. This approach maintains trust because it shows you are trying to enable the business while protecting it. It also reduces turf wars because the conversation is about outcomes and constraints, not about power. Beginners sometimes assume leadership is about being strict, but strategic leadership is often about being clear and collaborative at the same time. When people understand why a decision was made and what the alternative options are, they are less likely to feel personally attacked or trapped. That emotional stability matters because it keeps teams working together, and coordination is what makes strategies executable. The exam tends to favor answers that reflect this balance, enabling leadership style rather than rigid control. As we bring this together, it helps to view strategic clarity as a repeatable pattern that can be applied to any security decision. You identify the objective, connect it to value drivers, and clarify what success looks like. You use evidence to prioritize the most important risks to those objectives, and you define scope so the plan is realistic. You map stakeholders, clarify decision rights, and convert expectations into commitments that are visible and owned. You translate risk into business impact so leaders can fund what matters, and you define guardrails so teams can execute consistently. You measure progress so the plan stays honest and adaptive, and you handle uncertainty without paralysis by acting on what is known while reducing what is unknown. Finally, you communicate all of this in calm, plain language that respects the audience and the constraints. That pattern is not just academic. It is how real strategic leadership rallies people and resources effectively. To close, leading with strategic clarity is the skill that turns security from scattered activity into coordinated progress that an organization can support. Clarity provides a shared destination through clear objectives, and it provides a shared route through defensible prioritization, realistic scope, and practical guardrails. It builds alignment by respecting stakeholder incentives, defining decision rights, and creating commitments that people can follow. It earns resources by translating risk into business impact and presenting investment choices that match business goals and risk appetite. It sustains momentum by pacing work intelligently and measuring outcomes honestly, while handling uncertainty in a way that preserves trust. When you can do this, you are not simply describing security concepts. You are demonstrating the strategic reasoning the GSTRT certification is designed to assess. Strategic clarity is what makes people want to follow the plan, and it is what makes the plan possible to execute. which is why it is the leadership skill that rallies people and resources most effectively.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.